All right, let's face it. In high school, we all had that one English teacher. Well, that English teacher is me. I'm Brian Kulak, a career educator and author of The Hot Seat. Every week, I reconnect with former students, colleagues, and fascinating people to explore who they were, who they are now, and the wisdom they've gained along the way. Welcome to The Hot Seat. So tonight's guest, there's a lot of ways to introduce her, but I'll say that hers was the first chapter I wrote in its entirety. I remember the day, I remember the weather, I remember the class, I know where she sat, and I remember the question and answer. It was just so powerful that I knew that it was going to be in the book. I kind of waffled on if it should be the first chapter or not. I chose not to have it be the first chapter, but it's just such a powerful story, and I love it. But more powerful is our friendship that's been going on this whole time. She's been helping me market. Has such wonderful ideas. She was a cheerleader, the class president. She did all the things in high school, kind of like a high school movie character. That's why we love her. She's the class of '02. OMG. Kaylee Collins, an OG hot seat member. This is big. I mean, to start back to back with Steve and you, main character for sure. She is the main character in a lot of our lives. And one thing I forgot to do, Kay, last week was Steve. Steve, I know you're on, so I apologize. Is I made no effort to reconnect with who he is now. I just got back into the hot seat time machine. So let's do that first. Where are you? What are you doing? How'd you get there? Tell us everything.
Well, I am in Collingswood, so back home, if you will. And I am a fundraiser at Rowan University. So how did I get there is probably kind of a long story, but some of that is in the chapter in the book, right?
Yep, that's true.
But I mean, essentially through like event planning, marketing, et cetera, I made my way to fundraising, which has like a lot of like correlation and like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I like Rowan's great, but also the work I do is really satisfying and really great. So
Yeah, and you're really good at it. I think your personality is
thanks.
actually all the different branches, if you read the chapter, you'll get that reference of your
Mhm.
life have makes sense to me. It makes sense to anybody who knows you with your personality and all the skills that you have. But I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Steve last week. Like, what was your overall experience in high school?
Oh, I mean, sort of as you just said, sort of did all of the things,
Yeah.
was maybe slightly too involved. Um, but enjoyed high school. I mean, I'll say I was definitely ready for high school to be done. I think I was a little ready before high school was over. I was ready for high
There's
school to be over,
a lot of kids
and
like
not
that. Yeah.
necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it was time for me to move on and do something else. That said, I'm still very connected with a lot of people from high school, like obviously you included, but Steve and people from other grades, whether it's through social media or like people that I see on the regular or like really good friends of mine. Um, and as you know, like didn't always stay here. So to be able to have those friendships and manage those, having been back and forth from home, um, I think says a lot for like the school that we all went to
Yeah.
and kind of grew up with. I don't know that that's many people's experiences. Some people have tight friends from high school, but I know a lot of people that really
Yeah.
don't. So I am grateful for it, even though I said I was ready for it to be over.
Well, no, I remember I've said to kids as seniors so many times, like, I just know you're ready, whether it was in a yearbook or like after watching senior video or just seeing they're just kind of malaise. Like, I don't, I'm over all this. I'm ready. And some kids are college ready long before they even know what college they're going to go to. And you were one of them. And obviously, being so involved all the time, you just had kind of no time to do anything else or to kind of be just chill. So then I think
Mhm.
you're traveling the world, kind of scratch that itch that you weren't able to do, obviously as a high school student. But I mean, your class was special. It was first, right? You guys were in that inferno at the top of A, which was brutal. It was the former Mr. Cuzzy classroom when you were a
Mhm.
sophomore.
Mhm.
And then, so then you got down to C206, no, C111,
C111.
which, yeah, with that you guys had a real small honors class. Several of whom have reached out since the book came out, but that class was so special. You remember we did the question board when you walked in. There was a question of the like week
Mhm.
on an easel board, and you guys all got to
Mhm.
answer it.
Oh
And
yeah.
then,
Actually, I did forget that until
uh,
you just
there's a
said
lot of
it.
things I remember that y'all forget and vice versa. And you were the inaugural perks class too. Like that was
Oh
when
yeah.
I think my career and everything kind of changed. And that goes right back to Beth Canzanese, who we talked about last week. But when she put that book in my hand, I read it in hours, and I'm like, I got to teach this. And I knew I would get in trouble at some point. I got in trouble a lot, as you all know, with the books that we read. But that one, just stands the test of time. And I know a lot of kids still think fondly about Perks, but you guys did cool projects with Perks there at the end. And we
Hmm.
just did things in your class that I think probably weren't possible in a lot just because of the personalities in there.
Yeah. I think so. Perks was probably the first book that I was assigned in school that I finished before. It was like read well
Yeah.
ahead,
Yeah.
was completely done before we needed to be done. And then I would have to kind of like catch myself when we were talking about certain chapters
Yeah.
because I already knew other things.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, would have to like go back. But
Yeah.
I also remember like I bought it for everybody that Christmas. Like if they weren't in your class, but I was friends with them, they got that book for Christmas.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I don't have my original copy. I lent it out to everybody in
Yep.
college. It went away with somebody at some point. I
Yep.
have had like multiple copies of it. And I have reread it at different points in
Same.
time, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to reread it at
Yeah.
different points in your life. I mean, it kind of goes. I reread The Alchemist too, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that also has hit me differently when I've read
Right.
it at different times in life. But Perks is still when people ask for favorite books. Like I, one time it was a dad and like his. I don't know. She might have been too young to be reading Perks, if I'm being honest. But
Yeah.
she picked it up because I think it was around the time the movie came out.
Right.
She was like, "I want this," and he was standing there, and I was like, "Listen, it's a great book. Just get it for it. It's one of my favorites." And I was like, "It might be too old for her. I don't
Yeah.
know how old she is,
That's
but."
so funny. I
And he
remember.
was like, he was like, "Okay, she wants a book. I'll get her
Yeah.
a
I mean, what
book."
are you gonna do?
Like
Tell
he
a
was
kid
just
no?
happy.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember just flashes of green all around the hallway. Like when that we started to teach that, kids were buying it on their own and reading ahead, wanting to talk like in study hall about it. When the movie came out, I was pretty universally disappointed. I think a lot of people were, but that's my own stuff, right? That's not Charlie in my head, and that certainly
Yep.
wasn't Sam on my head. The only one I thought was good was Patrick. I thought he did a good job with the role, but
Uh-huh.
yes, Perks was a watershed moment for us, and I think you were the class that could have handled it. And so it's funny you said, because Charlie gives his original stuff out, right? He gives one to, oh my God, what the heck's her name? Mary Beth? No. Mary, uh, what the heck is her
Mary
name?
Elizabeth. Yeah,
Mary
I
Elizabeth.
think
Thank you,
right.
Mary
Mary
Elizabeth. Yeah,
Elizabeth. Yeah,
Mary
yeah.
Elizabeth. Thank you. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I thought I had this brilliant English teacher dad moment. Mine's in tatters, and I gave it to my daughter Abby. And I'm like, Ab, it's the pieces. Just take your time and read it. You're gonna love it. It is not moved. She has not read it. And she's reading The Road now for school. I'm like, honey, I love The Road. I taught The Road, but Perks is a little bit different.
Hmm. Hmm.
So she'll read
Oh,
it
that's
eventually, like everybody else did.
funny.
All right. So feedback. Last week we did a little feedback loop. You, Steve, and I, and then my producer Dana is behind the screen here taking notes. And we decided that, well, first of all, Steve got off a little bit too easy, and then he told us that I should go hard with you. And I don't know if I feel comfortable with that, but um, we're gonna move into tonight's round. I think it's going to open up a little bit more conversation, and I certainly love to see some comments down below about this because it can go either way in a lot of different directions.
Hmm.
Um, but that's the case for a lot of questions. So, what number do you choose?
13. I am nervous,
Really?
by the way. Yes.
Why? You've done
I
this
feel
a
like I was
million
always
times.
nervous. I know, but I feel like I was always nervous.
All right,
All right.
ready?
Yep.
Do you think people who go out of their way to be different are the same? So it's only
Stop
funny
it.
to
Is
like
that
me and you.
the
But I came up with that gag like 10 minutes ago, and I was laughing like a little boy about setting you up. So for the people on the call, if you read the chapter, Kaylee got a question as a sophomore, and she totally bonked it. It was really
Mhm.
poorly worded. I knew what I wanted to say, and I knew what kids were going to say, but I didn't word it well, and
Mhm.
she picked a different number. So
I
we're going to
sat
do
in
that again.
silence.
Yeah,
I
you
sat in
did that.
silence.
Yeah, you
We
did.
like looked at each other and I was
Yeah.
just like, I
And I remember too, because in the book you talk about remember what you wore. So you
oh
remember what you
yeah.
were wearing,
Oh
and the horror of that
yeah.
horrendously
Mhm.
worded question that in my brain was so intellectual and such a thought-provoking question, and it sucked, and it landed on you. So I'm sorry. So your real question
Remember
is,
anymore because I didn't say
no,
anything. There was nothing else to
no,
remember.
it's definitely, you don't ask a 15-year-old a poorly worded question about identity and expect
Okay.
them to get it, even
That does
someone like you.
make me feel better.
So your real question is, One of my favorites, actually. Who is the bigger person, the one who apologizes or the one who accepts?
Oh, this is tough. And I was just talking about apologies with somebody recently. I feel like, I don't know if there's technically a bigger
Okay.
person. I think it takes a lot to apologize if you're genuinely apologizing. Just saying I'm sorry is not
Agreed.
necessarily an apology. But truly understanding what you're apologizing for and maybe whatever you did, whatever you're apologizing for, however that impacted the other person you're apologizing
Yeah.
to. But then also that coming with like a changed behavior, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
Right.
can say I'm sorry 20 times, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you don't get it.
Yep.
Like
That's
you're
not an
not really
apology.
sorry.
Yeah, I agree. That's not an
No.
apology. Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think too, I also think it takes a lot to forgive people for things. That said, I feel like you can forgive somebody, but still maybe not, um, depending on like the level of whatever they're
Yeah, yeah. We'll
apologizing
get into
for,
that.
right? If it's something
Yeah.
kind of petty, whatever. But like
Yeah.
if it's something big that somebody's apologizing for, I think you can forgive them, but I think you can also maybe still keep them at a distance, right? Like depending on it
So,
comes with trust, right?
yeah.
Trust is not easily earned back. Like
Right.
I'll forgive you and I accept your apology, but doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to trust you at the same level that I had trusted you before.
Right. So, does
Um,
the person
so sometimes it takes
matter?
a while to build back up.
Does the person matter in your world? Does the person doing the apologizing, the relationship you have with that person matter?
I think
Okay.
so. But sometimes the people you're closest with, when they do something that really upsets you, it hurts more,
Yeah.
right? Like somebody could say something to you, and if they don't mean as much to you, you're kind of like, oh, well, that was a shitty thing to say,
Yeah.
but like I'm not that concerned with that person, so it doesn't matter who it's coming from. Um, yeah, well, I think sometimes the people you're closest with, the the more disappointed you are in something that happened or was
Right.
said or whatever, um, it can be more
Right.
hurtful.
Because
So maybe
ostensibly,
sometimes
those
harder
people,
to come back from. So I think
right.
like who the person is to you, I think definitely matters in a relationship.
Those people should know better, right? And so it probably does hurt more.
We
And you
would
talked about trust
think.
and the betrayal of trust, despite the fact that it's been built up, it might have been discussed. If you're in a relationship and there are clear rules or boundaries
Hmm.
about your happiness and your togetherness, and you break one of those, back to your point, it's going to happen, right? In a friendship or a relationship or a student teacher relationship or college
Yeah.
roommate, whatever. It's going to happen. But I think you're right about the repeated nature of it. You know,
Hmm.
those people who are quick to say I'm sorry are not quick to accept that which they're sorry for. You know,
Sure.
I talked about with my kids, all my students all the time. We do a lot of restorative justice at Tatum, right? Like I don't believe in throwing the book at the kid, opening the book and say you did this, you're suspended. It's just not my thing.
Hmm.
And I mean, you guys all know that,
Hmm.
but so we talk a lot about restorative justice and how you have to say the person's name that you aggrieved, what
Hmm.
you did, you know, and how it made them feel, and that'll never happen again. A promise, not a possibility, right? This is not going
Hmm.
to happen again. So now to dig deeper into your experience with this,
Mm.
how have you been on either side when it's you, when you're the apologizer or the acceptor? Are you good at apologizing? Do you? I feel like you probably don't have to very often, just because I know you so well. But I mean, we all make mistakes. So how are you at apologizing?
Sure. I think I've definitely gotten better with it. I think that there were, I think back on like certain situations, maybe with like friends in college, that we kind of like were upset with each other, and it was sort of hashed out among the group, but not individually, like the two
Yeah,
of us figuring it
yeah,
out. But it was also because I didn't understand what I had done or what the impact was, so I didn't understand why they're upset and why I should be apologizing. But I think now, like I don't know, as you age, you're
yeah,
just like
yeah,
more self-aware and understand, and like even sometimes you like say something and it wasn't interpreted a certain way, but you catch yourself kind of being like, "Oh, I didn't
yeah,
mean
yeah,
it like
yeah.
that." Like just so
Yep,
you know, that wasn't what I like meant to say or like how I meant that to come out.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think now like I would rather because I used to sit with things and like still think about
Oh, what's that
things, you know.
like? I wonder what
I
that's
said
like.
this in second grade, I'm
Yeah,
still thinking about it. But you know, instead of holding on to that, but
yeah,
like, you know, making sure that like I can have a conversation with somebody or send a message to somebody, you know, whatever that is, and be like, "Hey, listen, I've been thinking about this. And like I didn't mean for this, but this is also why I responded in that way, or this is also like why I feel like I reacted that way. I am sorry." Um, yeah, and then on the other end, I mean, I think sort of how I answered the question originally, like if
Yeah,
I can tell you like genuinely mean it and it comes with like either a changed behavior or you can identify the impact of it. Like if you're just saying sorry to me because you want me to stop being mad at you or like to end the conversation, like we're going to stop this here. No, we're not. Like just so you know, no, we're not.
yeah,
We're going to talk about it.
right, right,
So I feel like I'm good at accepting them. And again, I think even going back to the trust thing, like I don't feel like there's too much that I've been through that like somebody has apologized for that I have like kind of kept them at a
right.
distance. Um, oh yeah, this is a good
You
question.
well, you brought up self-awareness, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I mean, I'm knocking on the door at 50 years old, which I'm just gonna get and throw it in the towel at that point. But um, like I think about how kids would have answered this question as teenagers, and how they'll answer it now. And a lot of the feedback I'm getting privately is like, I'm looking at all these questions now as a
Hmm.
40-year-old, and I mean, I think about myself at 17 and at 40, and the answers shouldn't be the same, right? If there's been
Yeah.
no like growth or development over that time, but I imagine for a high school kid, I just think about some of the drama that happens in a high school
Yep.
year. It's hard for kids to forgive. It's really hard for them to offer the forgiveness, especially to your point, under the guise of like, I mean, I guess, I mean, we're all in the same friendship group, I might
Yep.
as well, right?
Yep.
But then it like fractures bigger parts. I remember your friend group really well, and I can imagine if there was factions breaking off, that changes dynamics
Yeah.
for a long time. And then you bring in the boyfriend thing and like the ancillary friend thing. And in a town like Audubon, a school that small, whatever you're apologizing for, freshmen probably knew about it by second period,
Oh,
So,
for
yeah.
sure.
So I think there is an evolution, which is cool to listen to you guys talk about, in these Instagram lives, to think about what things are like as an adult and how you kind of reflect on them. Because some of the questions in the back, I'm sure people are like, "Oh my God, that was my question," or "Oh my God, I can't believe I answered this question as a 17-year-old in front of all these
Yeah.
kids." But that's what happened. So I think forgiveness and apologies are a tough sell. But if if we're being honest, if I did something to hurt you, it would hurt me. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel about
Yeah.
my relationships. So like it would, to your point, it would weigh on me. I would have rehearsed it a million times because the anxiety brain until I land on what I was actually going to
100%.
say. Yep, and then hope it goes well. But
Hmm.
then in between, I would have come up with every cataclysmic reaction you'd
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
So it's cyclical. It's awful. Um, all right, so uh, we're gonna see each other at the launch on the 7th.
Uh-huh.
So for those of you guys watching, you're gonna see Kaylee front and center at Mulligan. She's gonna be doing some name tag work. I don't think I need them, but Kaylee and Dana both say I need them, so I'm gonna do it
Maybe we
anyway.
need them,
Yeah, you all need them probably too.
right?
But I
We
think,
might need them. I don't know. Like if they weren't really like
yeah, you're
a
right.
couple grades ahead of me, a couple grades below me, you're talking 10 years of
Yeah, that's
students.
true.
They're not for you, they're for us.
Yeah, I mean, it might. Yeah, that's true.
We could put our class
Um,
here on them.
so Dana said, put your class here, so you guys,
Look at
yeah, you
this.
guys are about. You can't even see
Planners.
her, but she's taking notes. She's like the greatest producer of all time, right behind me. So we'll be there early. We did, like I said, we got some munchies and stuff for people who want to come and go. We don't have an end time. I'm supposed to pitch the next day, so I got to try to be a good boy, but I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see how that
Do your
goes.
best.
But you are the sort of pinnacle of why all this works. I mean, you know how much I care about you and how much I'm so thankful for our relationship after all these years. So like what all these people don't know is all the work you're doing on the back end for me, just pushing things out and giving me ideas about marketing. But even if this all goes away tomorrow, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm hoping that I'll see you at the Dave concert this year, and if not, some other time shortly
Yes.
thereafter, because any Kaylee time is a good time for me. So I
Well,
really
I'm happy
appreciate you
to do
coming on
it.
again. Yeah.
Of course. I
All right. Well,
got
I
my book
guess
today,
you what?
and I did get, I'm
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
halfway through my book.
Yeah, we should talk
Um,
about the length at some point, but maybe not this
well,
time.
that's fine. Um, but it has so much work. It's like it's a
No,
workbook too. So I feel like
I
it's
know.
The length is fine. You can
Yeah.
always add on to it. Like you're
Yeah.
doing this, which is like a supplement to the length of the book, but I think you're good.
Yeah. I
Um,
was worried about it before, but I'm getting over it. I am. I'm gonna be a big
are you
boy. There's
thinking
a lot.
about too much?
You think so? What's that like?
Um, I did read through my chapter, and I feel like I did not know, like until I read my chapter and until you said it to Steve last week, that like my question was one of the ones that we were like, oh, okay, this is something we're gonna
It
do
was.
now.
It was the first one, and I don't know if what I was. I wasn't expecting anything, right? Like, in the book I talk about how I was a Hail Mary. I was just like an unprepared teacher. But when things started to take shape, it was your question and answer because I just remember the reflection. And then you said like, I looked out the window and then like the answer kind of came to you. So it could have been bullshit the whole time. I don't even care because you answered it so well. But here we are, so many years later. You guys are about to celebrate your you guys
We
were
just
20
we were already 20. You
20.
came to it. You came to our
That's
20. We're like
right.
23 years out now.
Did I
That's
come
what
to
I
you?
did.
Where was it? Was that the Cove?
The
Yeah,
Cove.
okay.
We held it in January.
That's right. So here we are talking about this many years later, but it was just so mature, and
Mhm.
I think it set a bar for kids. There's a lot of kids that gave a pretty monosyllabic answer, didn't really care. That's fine, but there were people who took it seriously, and you did. So yeah, you were. That was a really big, important moment for me to start writing things down. The Emily chapter, which is earlier about
Mhm.
parents, was a big one. I was like,
Great.
holy, I can't believe this girl's saying this. So, in all ways, there's just trendsetters that
Yeah.
that made it easier to write the book. So I thank
Well,
you
and
for
it's
that.
fun for me too, because I mean, a lot of the chapters I've read, obviously, I saw Steve's part, and there are a couple people I know, but some of them are students that are younger than me. So it's also nice to kind of read those sections and dive in. And I think the other part of it too was that, you have your friends in high school and you think you know them, but I feel like even the hot seat brought up like
Mm,
questions and answers, even from people you thought were your best friend that you didn't necessarily know they thought that way or had that response or went through that thing. And not only that, but then you're also hearing it from kids in your
yeah,
class that aren't necessarily your closest friends, but you would have never had that conversation with them otherwise. Like,
right,
even going back to Steve, like, I would say your class and Miss Kansas class senior year, like, that's probably why we're friends.
right,
Like, you show up every day as a student, but in those classes, we like showed up as like human beings.
yeah,
Like, we were spoken to and posed questions like with critical thinking and like expected to like have a thoughtful answer, but also you genuinely cared about the answer. So I
yeah,
feel like it created these conversations, but I think even these relationships, like Steve and I are still friends, but
right,
really we became friends senior year. Like
right, right.
we were friendly before that, but we really became friends senior year. So I think, having an opportunity, any teacher to do something like this in their class is just like such a great opportunity to build a relationship with you and your students, but also for all of those students to build sort of something really special among all
Yeah,
of themselves.
that's a really good point, and it's a byproduct I didn't really think about because I was so focused on like how I could just make high school the best experience for my kids that I could. I knew there would be some friendships that would
Hmm.
coalesce pretty quickly because I was so young and I was living in town and all that stuff. But just the opposite point that you made is, I'll go to Kira's chapter. You know, it was the kids who didn't say much at all, and then they got up there and they just said the most powerful things. I was so proud of her when she talked about her life experience, and I mean, she chose the hot seat to kind of. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, like, yes, you're right. Hearing from each other and hearing from the gregarious kids was
Hmm.
the easy part. But then when the person sat down and there was a conversation among everybody else, and there were wheels turning of kids that I didn't expect to say much at all, and then you get a kid like her who was afraid, of her
Yeah.
shadow, and then she comes and she sits right up front. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I'll never forget. That's why it's so important. So I hope that at the launch, I have some questions I want to ask. I'm going to kind of cherry pick, but and we're going to keep it light. But I hope people can sort of relive or try for we have one of my dearest friends said he's going to do it, and I mean I worry about his answer for reasons we'll talk about offline, but he's going to do it, and I just I think that there's a community that builds upon itself
Yeah,
after the first person goes,
for
and that's
sure.
kind of what happened with you guys, and then every year since. So thank you so
Of
much. Thanks
course.
for everybody for
Thanks
tuning
for
in this
having me.
time. Yep, we'll see
This
you
is
next
great.
week. Next week's guest also in the book, Krista McGrail. Krista had an experience with a teacher that she told us about in the book that I will let you read about, but we're going to talk to Krista next week. So thank you, Kaylee.
So
Love you.
good.
I'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right, bye,
Bye.
guys. All right, hot seaters, thanks for tuning in. Before you go, here's how to stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Brian_Kulak. Check out more resources on my blog over at briankolak.net. Pick up a copy of The Hot Seat or my other book, Level Up Leadership, both available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And please, if you found value in today's conversation, leave us a rating and a review. It truly helps others discover these stories. Share this episode with someone in your life, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another conversation in The Hot Seat.